The best reporter findings don't feel like a presentation. They feel like a conversation, okay? With trust at the absolute center of it. There's clarity in the message and there's respect for the decision, okay? So start to build trust in the first visit. Ideally, start to build trust beforehand with your website, with your social media, maybe the workshop that you run on the computer. Remember, you're not trying to lock people into anything. You're offering a path towards something better. You're offering an invitation to a beautiful future. And absolutely, that's what you need to be doing. No convincing, making invitations inside of this. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Marketing Your Practice podcast, the podcast where I have the pleasure of simplifying the marketing and the mindset so you, the chiropractor, can increase your income, your impact, and your enjoyment in practice too. In today's episode, I've got a bunch of frequently asked questions that have come in after we spent some time last month really working our way through the 7-figure lifestyle practice triangle. We talked about the 3 big problems that we need to solve if we want to build a practice that is not only high impact, high income, but it's very enjoyable as well. We talked about first problem we need to solve is a visibility problem. Nobody knows us. The second problem is no one stays around. That's a trust problem. And then the third problem is that we've got no time. That's a leadership issue there too, okay? And we often don't think of these things as visibility, trust, and leadership problems, but they are. Now, I had a bunch of questions come into me. I put some feelers out via email and through the socials as well. And so over these next couple of episodes, I'm going to answer those questions to dive a little bit deeper in this to help you build the practice that you deserve to build and that your community deserves you to have as well. So question number 1 is, I want more people to know about my practice, but I refuse to resort to hype, gimmicks, or becoming something that I'm not. Now, I get multiple versions of this question here because it does seem that so many marketing companies out there are suggesting that it is all about hype. There's so much that's front end. We have to, bait and switch. Do I need to do TikTok dances? Do I need to reduce the price of my visits to something unreasonable to attract tire kickers in? All those things as well. So I want to take you through this, and I will reference back to that 7-figure triangle because every problem that you have in practice will be solved from this 7-figure triangle as well. Again, if you want to dive deeper into that, just go back through those episodes there as well. So the big mistake, and for those of you that have been following along for any time will have heard me say this before, most chiropractors are trying to speak to everybody and they end up connecting with nobody. So step number 1 is this, is you need to know exactly who it is that you want to attract, right? Who is it that you want to have into practice? Now, we don't need everybody in our town, but we need our people, or you need your people who already believe what you believe. That's a good spot to start. Who believes what I believe as well? You can ask yourself, who do you love taking care of? What kind of problems do they often show up with? Who do they wish could help them? So who are they out there, these people? Who are they begging for and wishing, if they had a magic wand, that would show up to help them and their families get through, the challenges that they are having? A pro tip could be to write down your top 10 favorite patients. Look for patterns in age, in values, in concerns, in goals. This is your audience, okay? Now, what you need to do is you need to fall in love with them and commit to being valuable with them. Now, I know this sounds a little airy-fairy. I had a community influencer group Q&A call before this, and we were talking about, how is it that we make our social media work? Our social media and our website needs to be a resource for somebody where they go to have their problem solved, okay? We're not entertainers. Now, it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be entertaining, but we're not entertainers. We're problem solvers, and that's what your social media, that's what your website, that's what your workshops, that's what your communication should be doing is showing that you are solving problems as well. Now, the step number 2, after we've described who our who is that we need to then craft our why you, and we need to be able to own this without apology. Chiropractors often really hesitate here. They don't want to act like they're better than somebody else in their town, and that's the wrong frame for you to be looking at this entirely. This isn't about being the best chiropractor in town. It's about being the best chiropractor for that particular kind of person. Now, just like Nike doesn't try to be, everything to every shoe brand, okay? They want to be the best for athletes as well. Lululemon is for people who care about kind of performance and aesthetics and a fitness lifestyle. It's like we're trying to be the best for somebody, okay? So you need to ask yourself this, who am I built to serve? What problems do I love solving? And what type of person comes alive in my care? Now, if you can't answer these questions, okay, then you're going to really struggle. if we sit on the fence for this and we say, look, you know what, I'm not sure I'm better than any other chiropractor than for anyone, then that tells me a lot about your practice, okay? So maybe we need to start to aspire to this. Maybe you need more training, more certainty, more confidence, that kind of stuff too. But we can aspire to be the best type of chiropractor for a certain group of people. Then once you answer that, we need to own it, okay? It's okay, as I mentioned before, if this is still aspirational. If you're not yet that best person, okay, you've now got a clear target that you can aim for. You can work your systems, you can improve your skills, you can deepen your understandings, and you can start to build for it, okay? This is part of your standout strategy, okay? Once we know who we're going to want to be talking to, then we can say to them and clearly and communicate with them, here's why you should travel past 5 other chiropractors coming to our practice. Here's why we are perfect for you. I'm not for everybody, but if you're a health conscious parent out there, if you're done with patch up care, if you're ready for real answers, I'm probably the right chiropractor for you. You know, regularly in my communication, I would say, hey, listen, if you're looking for somebody just going to come and pop and crack your neck for a quick fix, I'm not for you. You know, we do deep work with our practice members, okay? We look at lifestyle, we look at stress. You know, I'm interested in helping you and your spine and nervous system work the best it possibly can, and that takes time. If you've been looking for that, then I'm the right person for you, okay? This type of message cuts through. It's magnetic for the right person, but it's also repulsive for the wrong person as well, and that's totally okay. So remember, first, what we've done here is we've decided who it is that we want to actually communicate with. Step number 2 is we've got really clear on why we're the right person for them. And then step number 3 is we want to use the 3 types of media to spread your message. This is the broadcast engine that I spoke about, okay? The broadcast engine, there's 3 types of media. There's owned media, borrowed media, and bought media. Let's talk about this. So owned media is your website. You need to make sure that it speaks to your ideal patient, not just list your service. Remember, this is a resource. You know, this morning when I was chatting with this really great chiropractor there, her goal is to be the family chiropractor. And so in her town, her website needs to be a resource. Mums out there just love this stuff. They want to go to your socials and have their problems answered. They want to make sure that they're going to your website and there be more problems answered there as well. So look at your website. Is it valuable to your person, or is it just a business card? And if it is just a business card, what do you need to do to make it valuable? The second is email list. This is a part of owned media as well. Are you sending value-rich, real-world emails 2 to 4 times a month? We're going to talk about emails a bit more in a little while there. Not just promotional tips, not just administration tips. Are you solving problems, okay? The third type of owned media, to some extent, is your socials. There's some parts of it that we own, but this is also often called bought media as well. But show your philosophy in action. Post your wins. Share case studies. And, of course, educate. You know, let them see your personality as well. Connect with people as well. So that's owned media. Now, we need to, so owned media, bought media, borrowed media, you need to be really competent at 2 of these at least, okay? And if you're not, there's no redundancy. There's a level of vulnerability in your practice. So bought media, this is stuff that we pay for. It's Facebook ads that are promoting to your niche workshop, or maybe you're running a workshop on ear infections and chiropractic, you know, the things that every parent should know. Maybe it's just boosting your posts out there, boosted Instagram posts, the ones that are sharing your core message, your core values and stuff like that. There's an idea of bought media there. Local sponsorships, okay? Things that actually matter. It's connecting with the people. Again, so some of this can be just branding. So I was chatting with a community influencer member who's in his town. There's a big intersection. There's a great big billboard up there, and he's going to get up on that billboard. You know, there's cars stopped there, tens of thousands of cars every month, and he's going to be up there with a branding message. The idea with our media across our owned media, our bought media, and our borrowed media is that we become 5 mile famous. Okay, we've had several videos that have gone viral with millions of views. They don't lead to more practice members. Okay, but we want to be famous in our town. Okay, we want our town looking at it. So that's bought media. Okay, you want to make sure that you're not just on your media through there, you're not just advertising generic chiropractic. What you're doing is you're communicating your beliefs, your belief systems, and your ideal patient journey through there as well. The third one is borrowed media. And borrowed media is all about leveraging trust. So who already serves your audience? Is it midwives, naturopaths, local cafe down there, health food stores, local gyms? Who is it that already serves them? And build relationships with these people. Go first. Share their contact, invite them to collaborate, refer first, ask later. Now, these relationships, one of the challenges with borrowed media is borrowed media takes time. Okay, it takes time to build enough trust with a partner that they're going to refer to. But when you do this right and you have several of these, you'll never have to do anything else. So I ran a workshop recently on how to leverage all of that whole borrowed meeting. I told a story about, one of the referral partners to our practice there that's, worth tens of thousands of dollars a year to our practice, one person. We don't need very many of them. When we get these right partners, referral partners that are sending patients to us all the time, it can build an incredibly sustainable practice. So start conversations, okay? Build a roadmap. Who are all the businesses in your town that have the same practice members, and start to build relationships. Ask 20 of your patients, which local practitioners or businesses do you trust most with your family's health? Okay, that's what your list is. That's your roadmap. That's where you begin. Okay, so a final thought. You don't need to shout to stand out. Okay, you need clarity. You need consistency. You need courage, because it's going to put you inside of an area that you're likely to be uncomfortable. Okay, but you need to be unapologetically specific. Okay, be visible where your people already are, and most of all, stop hiding the message that could change somebody else's life. Remember, there are people in your community right now who are desperately waiting for you to step out and show them that you can help them, and that's what this is all about. So you don't need to look shady, you don't look shifty, you don't need to compromise anything, but those 3 steps is, first of all, decide who your audience is. Second of all, you need to get really clear on why you for them. There needs to be some confidence. And the third is you need that broadcast engine where you are sharing your message everywhere. Do that consistently over the next 90 to 180 days and watch the new patients to begin to drip in and eventually flood into your practice. All right, next question was, how often should I email or post to stay top of mind without annoying my patients? So we're going to talk about email here. I touched on email a little bit beforehand, because most of you are not using email nearly to get the return that you should from this, okay? Now, the goal is, or with this too, the sub-headline of this is this chiropractor went on and said, look, I don't want to be spammy, but I also don't want to be forgotten, all right? So what's the right rhythm? Now, the short answer for this is somewhere between 2 and 4 times a month. That's the sweet spot for most chiropractors, but it's the wrong question for us to begin with when we get into a better question is this, is how often can I commit to creating content that's truly valuable? Okay, we'll come back to this value question again, because when the content is valuable, people want to hear from you often. Now, you've experienced this. I experienced this. I have emails come into my email inbox from certain providers. One particular guy emails 5 days a week, and I read all of his emails and I look forward to them and I save them. And then I have other people who email me every 2 to 4 weeks, and I haven't opened one of their emails for 12 to 18 months. What is the difference? It's got nothing to do with the frequency. The difference is the value they're delivering to me, okay? So what is it that makes an email valuable? Let's begin with this, okay? Let's get really practical. A valuable piece of content does one of the following, okay? It solves a problem. Here's what you should do if your child's got recurring ear infections. 3 ways to sit all day without wrecking your spine. You could have an email that answers those problems, solves those problems, okay? It could reframe a limiting belief, okay? Your posture is not all about how it just looks. It's the window to your nervous system, and here's why that's important. Or chiropractic isn't about pain relief, it's about performance enhancement. What we're doing with both of those emails there is reframing a limiting belief. The third thing an email could or should do is it should spark curiosity. This is the one muscle group here that could be wrecking your golf swing. Or why is it that so many kids are struggling with focus and what parents aren't being told? Okay, those emails in that situation there are all about sparking curiosity. They will be valuable to the right person. We would build connection, or we could again, build connection through a story. So a patient win, a personal insight, maybe share a moment of vulnerability. Last week we spoke all about trust. That resonated, that episode, with a lot of you. I talked about the importance of vulnerability if we wanted to build trust, okay? People don't connect with principles, they connect with those living the principles in themselves. So share stories, okay? Another thing we could do is make the invisible visible. So show how the spine and nervous system, show them what they're really doing behind the scenes. Bring to life what parents feel, okay? Like communicate with them the things that are going on inside, the conversations they didn't even know that are going on inside of their minds, okay? Here's the catch. Value, though, is always contextual. There's no one email that's valuable to everybody, okay? If you send an email out about natural ear infections, this isn't going to be of any interest to my dad whatsoever, okay? But send an email to my dad showing him how he can improve his thoracic and lumbar rotation there and therefore lower his handicap. That's gold. He's interested in golf. So stop trying to be valuable to everybody. It goes right back to frequently asked question number 1, okay? The linchpin is if we're going to be sending emails out, we've got to decide who we're sending them to. They're not going to be valuable for everybody on your email list, but we want to build an email list full of our ideal patients so that they're valuable to most of people most of the time, okay? So let's summarize all this. Commit to a frequency that you can sustain. For most of you, this is going to be probably twice a month. Block out a content creation time. Maybe it's with a team as well, but make sure that's non-negotiable. Use a simple structure, solve a problem, reframe a story, add an action or an insight, okay? It should have one call to action. Maybe that is, book an appointment. Is there somebody that needs to, send a reply back or forward the email? And then you want to start to track what resonates, what subject lines, what topics, and then double down on that. Is it every time you share a story that you get more open rates, get more people calling the practice? What is it that works best? And then start to build a content bank. So every question a patient asks, okay, that's potential content. Every conversation is a potential reframe. Every win is proof and connection. So build that content bank as you're going forward, okay? So here's our final thought. How often, okay? How often you should show up is really a message or a matter of how useful you could be. Okay, this is all about being valuable to people in your community, and the chiropractor that is going to be the most valuable is going to be the one that's going to win, and that's going to be your rhythm as well, okay? All right, frequency asked question number 3. How can I improve my report of findings without sounding scripted or salesy, okay? I want more patients to say yes to care, but I want to feel congruent and in integrity with how I want to communicate. Now, ain't that the truth? And this is what often happens when we get in coaching programs, or we listen to chiropractors out here that tell us that there's only one way we need to go about things. And so therefore we adopt their system. But if there isn't congruency in amongst it, then you notice that it misses the mark. Or even if it doesn't miss the mark, that we feel somehow dirty when we're communicating in that way. I know I've certainly found that way, okay? So here's where we need to begin. And I think it's a headspace shift that we need to start with. And the first is this, is the report of findings is not a sales pitch. It's a trust bridge. I'll say that again. The report of findings is not a sales pitch. It's a trust bridge. You're not trying to sell anything, okay? You're making an invitation. Again, I did a whole, this came to me when I was having a conversation with a community influencer member who was having difficulties in around this. And we reframed into all you're doing in a report of findings is making invitations. And there are certain things that make invitations more attractive than other invitations. But just that shift in headspace of this is, I'm going to invite somebody to a better future. Okay? It's an invitation to healing, to clarity, to a better future. Now, for most of us, when we think of it like that, it takes an enormous amount of pressure off our shoulders. That's going to come across in the way that we communicate. We're going to be able to show up for that conversation much better, okay? And you can only make a real invitation needs to come from a place of trust. When trust is high, the report of findings becomes almost effortless. And when trust is low, it doesn't matter how slick you are with your report of findings, it's going to feel off, okay? Now, the important thing to remember here is that trust is built on the first visit, not on the report of findings, okay? So real trust is created in the new patient when people feel seen, not just their symptoms checked, when they feel heard, not rushed, when they feel valued, not like they've been processed through a system. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to spend hours with them, okay? All it means is that you need to be fully present. It means asking questions that actually matter. It means making somebody feel like a person, not just like a case file as well. And this can absolutely be done in 15 minutes of your time. If you're not getting this right, the report of findings is not going to feel like the natural next step. It'll feel like a hard close. Now, once we do all of those things, the report of findings, there's a simple framework that we need to go through inside of it. First thing that we need to do is that we need to connect the dots. So we need to show the patient that we understand them, not just their x-ray, not just their posture, not just what their spine is, but we understand them. So we might say something like this. You told me that your daughter's had 5 ear infections this year. You're exhausted and you're worried about the continued use of the antibiotics. What I found today is going to help to explain why this might be happening. There's tension and stress in the nervous system, and that's likely been building for a long time. So what we're doing here is we're starting to connect the dots from the ear infections to the nervous system to the frustration, okay? This is not, let me be really clear here, this is not about you impressing them with your knowledge. It's about connecting their story to the nervous system in a really simple and compassionate language. Then once we've done that, we want to present a really clear path. Okay, tell them what you recommend and why. I help families with this type of issue all of the time. To give your daughter the best chance of healing, I recommend that we start with 2 adjustments a week over the next 4 weeks. After that, we'll reassess. So we've built a journey as we're going through. We're not overcomplicating this. We're speaking calmly. We're showing certainty. We're using analogies even when they're helpful, but we're not lecturing. You're watching for feedback when this is landing. Okay, for some people, this is enough and we can get a report of findings done in no time at all. Trust is really high. They're just saying, yeah, look, take my money. We're ready to start. And particularly when they've worked their way through your social media, they've been to your website, they've built value, they've been referred from another client as well. Trust is already high before we even get to the new patient. Again, when we push too hard at the report of findings, it's like asking for marriage on the second date. Okay, now you can and you absolutely should be introducing the big picture of long-term healing. But the immediate goal is simple, in my case, and that is to get them the first 90 days. All right, we're not asking for marriage early on. We've got 90 days then. Now, again, if a practice member gives you 90 days and you can't educate them in that time, that's a different problem. It's another whole conversation that we need to have. But that takes the pressure off where we can build trust further. We can give them a chance to experience, because lives begin to change in the first 90 days of chiropractic care for most people. That's where they get to experience the value. The real conversations start to happen around lifetime care. It begins here. We go from one family member to multiple family members, okay? And then what we want to do is we want to invite them to a decision, okay? But never convince. The moment that we move into convincing, we've lost, okay? If this sounds like the right path with you, we can start today. Does this sound like a direction that you want to take? This is not about us manipulating. This is not about us pushing. We're the one that has the prize. Okay, now we don't want to be arrogant about it, but they're lucky to be sitting in front of you. They just don't fully see it yet, all right? They're lucky to be sitting in front of you. They don't just see it yet. You're the one with the prize. And when we go in with that intent, it's a conversation. The moment that we shift into convincing mode, you've already lost the game, because that means you've forgotten the value that you have. So final thought when it comes to this. The best report of findings don't feel like a presentation. They feel like a conversation, okay? With trust at the absolute center of it. Trust is what's at the center of it. There's clarity in the message and there's respect for the decision, okay? So start to build trust in the first visit. Ideally, start to build trust beforehand with your website, with your social media, maybe the workshop that you run on the computer. Remember, you're not trying to lock people into anything. You're offering a path towards something better. You're offering an invitation to a beautiful future. And absolutely, that's what you need to be doing. No convincing, making invitations inside of this. All right, folks, that's it for this episode. I'm going to be back with another episode shortly with more frequently asked questions. If you've got questions that you want me to ask, then reach out on the email or on the socials, and I'll see if I can get that up to the top of the list. As always, thank you so much for all that you do. Continue, folks, to save lives, and I look forward to seeing you back here next week. All right, over and out. Bye. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out my Community Influencer program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work with you to help you apply it, implement it, and systemize it. The Community Influencer Group Coaching Program is designed to help you increase your practice income, impact, and enjoyment. Join me over at anguspyke.com/join. That's anguspyke.com/join. I'd love to see you there.